What's up, people? I am back for another video. I have to do a more positive video today. I'm gonna do the Tool one, but it's gonna be a bit later. It's gonna probably be a night video. But I wanted to get this one out. So today, we're gonna start a new franchise. I was tempted to do the Rocky ones, and I'm still gonna do those, probably more when I'm gonna wait till a little bit into October to maybe start those, but I am gonna start the Rush Hour movies. These are one of my favorite trilogies. I think it's one of those movies that all of them are good. I think the second one is probably the weakest to me, but it's still pretty funny. I think the first one's the best, and that's the one we're gonna be talking about today. And then the third one is probably the funniest, but I really love this movie. The first Rush Hour is such a just simple movie. This was like, because Chris Tucker, this was his first real. I mean, I know he's a co-lead with Jackie Chan, but because up until that point he was like kind of like, yes, not a side act per se, but he wasn't like a lead. Like he was in Fifth Element, and he was definitely kind of a big part of that movie, and he's definitely a standout, but he wasn't a main character. Same thing with like a movie like Money Talks, which is a bit smaller. And he's most known for being in Friday, and this is the movie that infamously, basically, he didn't want to go back to Friday after these movies. So, and Jackie Chan had already done like a bunch of stuff, but this was like his first really big one in America. And just those two things coming together gave us one of the funniest movies ever made. And just watching it again. I watch these movies, I'll admit, often. Like at least every few weeks I watch them. And to me, the first one especially, it's simple. You have those cool action scenes, but it's also a comedy. But I would watch this and still say it's funny, but it doesn't feel like I'm just watching a joke every 5 minutes. Like, let's say current, like, not just Marvel, like Disney, right? Whereas, like, the first Rush Hour, I would definitely say is a comedy, but it's not a comedy all the way through. There are some serious scenes, and it's not over-the-top humor either. I think the bad guy was really good. I think it's just a all-around funny story, so. And I figured we can get through these movies really quick, because there's only 3 of them, so I'm going to review this one today. Rush Hour 2 will probably be on Monday. Rush Hour 2 will be on Monday. And then 3 will be Tuesday. So we can just get these out the way. So, sorry about that fucking can. Sorry about that, it was a fucking can. But yeah, Rush Hour definitely is one of those movies, and I think a lot of people love it, and it's one that I don't think there's a bad one. I think 2 is the weakest, just in the sense I don't think it's as funny, and I don't really care for the story as much as, let's say, 1 and 3, but it's still watchable. Like, you can watch all those movies and be done, and I think the thing that carries 2 is definitely, when I get to it, is Carter and Lee's dynamic. So, as usual, let me get started. So, Rush Hour 1 opens up with Detective Lee, or Inspector Lee. You get kind of like a cool scene of him taking out bad guys. You get a showcase of him doing his stunts. That's the thing with Jackie Chan, man. Just every movie he's in, even in like more comedic ones like these, or the Shanghai movies, which I'll review them at some point. Which you could argue were basically just Rush Hour with the white guy, but I do think in those movies and these movies, he knows how to showcase his stunts, even in like a comedic way, but it's still like badass. So he takes out a lot of the bad guys. Sang, he confronts him, but then Sang manages to escape. and then Lee talks with Ambassador Han, and we get like this cool little scene, just kind of them talking about because they're getting ready to leave in America, his daughter and Han. Then we kind of cut to a few months later. This is where we're reintroduced to Carter. This is where we're introduced to Carter. Really funny intro. He's trying to fake like he's buying a bomb from this guy. Cops interfere. Then like Hitler, you get this funny opening where he shoots the car and then fucking Michael Jackson music plays and he dances to it. Funny opening. Just really, like, that's the thing about this movie, the first one, is the simplicity of it. It's not over the top. Like, even the sequels, I think, for the most part, even in the third one where they do go to another country, or, I mean, go to Paris, they still keep that simplicity. And I think that's the thing about all of them I like, is they do somewhat keep it simple. They don't go too over the top with the story. You know, they don't. So Carter gets obviously in trouble, and then Ambassador Han, now in LA, you know, obviously says goodbye to his daughter who's getting ready to go to school. You get this kind of funny scene of her singing. I don't know the artist she's singing, but she's doing that while they're stuck in traffic. Then Sang, who's posing as a cop, you know, kills the two guys, tries to kidnap Soo Young, but she ends up trying to run away, but then she ends up getting captured. And then Han meets up with the FBI, and basically because you know Han told Lee to come and help, but obviously the FBI doesn't want his help, so they basically call the LAPD to get a cop to escort Lee around while they're doing the investigation. Just a funny little premise. So they call in Carter, and they said it's a G14 class. I'll admit, I died when I first watched that. Like, every time I watch it, I just die at that joke. It's like, G14 classified. And then, so Carter arrives, and unfortunately is ordered to do the thing. So he picks up Lee, and then we get one of, probably a lot of people's eyes, the funniest scene in this movie. And when you think of the first Rush Hour, it is this scene. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? And because Lee's acting like he can't speak English, and some of the jokes in these movies I love is because like they joke about culture. This is when you could make un-PC jokes back in the day. There was no joke police. You could just joke about what the fuck you wanted. I don't know what happened, but anyway, fucking he basically, it's throughout this part of the film, it's mainly Lee and Carter and Lee, like, chasing Lee. You get this funny little moment where he breaks out of he tries to run away, and you get this funny scene of him running on a bus. Just, it's a funny back and forth. And then Lee finally admits he can speak English when he's confronted by a cabbie with a gun. Then, because Carter wants some answers about who's buying weapons, he goes to his cousin's, like, bar. So, and then you get this, like, little funny scene with the guy. You might recognize the guy who's in the red suit. You might know, he was in Friday. He was Pinky in those movies. While Lee's outside, and you get this funny joke as Lee says, like, because Carter says earlier, you know, what's up, my, I guess I'll say it here, but what's up, my nigga? Then, I guess Lee thought he could say it, and then he gets in, all it really was just, it's not necessarily use the word excuse, but they just wanted a reason to showcase, you know, his martial arts, which is fine, you know, that's what movies did back then. You know, they did that, I mean, that happened a lot in, like, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, where they'll just have a random scene just showing him kicking people's asses. So we get this, you know, scene where, I'll admit, it's actually choreographed well. Even the guys coming at him choreographed this really well. Where they're trying to hit him, and Lee takes them all out. Runs into Carter, and they basically leave out. Oh, and this is also where it's revealed that the buyer's name is Jung Tao. So, Carter and Lee go to the go to the restaurant. Um, oh no, oh I think I missed out a scene. There's a scene before this where Carter is going to like a liquor store to get food, and he handcuffs Lee to the steering wheel, but Lee manages to escape, and then he goes to the Chinese consulate. You get this scene of him taking out some guards, meets up with Han, and then Carter shows up, and then this is where you get the joke about G-14 classified. It's actually a funny little scene. Like, it's just the thing with the humor in this. It's constant, but it's not overbearing. Where it is like, okay, can something happen? You like. So Juntao calls them, and says you gotta give him money, like a certain amount. And then Carter and Lee and the FBI go to give him the money, but it was a trap. And then Lee and Carter chase Sang, but Sang manages to escape. So Lee and Carter go on stakeout at the restaurant. And then this is where they really start kind of bonding. Like, this is where we get the iconic war scene where Carter's teaching Lee that song while Lee is teaching him, like, fighting skills, like how to take out a gun and stuff out of somebody's hand. Really funny scene. I that's why I do love, in general, buddy cop movies. That's why I love, like, Lethal Weapon. Men in Black I'll throw in there is because when you get two really good actors who just immediately just click, and it's like, wow, it's immediate. And I think it's the same thing here. I think this is epitome of one on paper, because, like, initially, like, yeah, Chris Tucker is like a comedian. He's more on the comedy side, whereas Jackie Chan before this, he was doing like karate movies and kung fu movies, like stuff like Rumble in the Bronx and stuff. So you wouldn't think on paper it would work, but it does work. And the dynamic between the two. Then you get this funny little scene between Carter and like this Chinese restaurant owner, like a Chinese restaurant. I'm like, I'm no punk bitch. Funny. Like, I just love the humor in this one. Well, one, I love in general, like, un-PC, dark humor. I've just always been that guy. So that's why I will always like movies like this where they have no problem making fun of each other. You can joke about shit and it not be a problem. God damn it, fucking play it. Give me a second. So Lee goes in, not Lee, Carter, sorry, goes in, tries to convince Juntao to meet with him. He manages, but he, obviously ends up getting captured and beat up for a bit. Lee comes in for the save. Cool little fight scene. The fight scenes in this are actually really good. Just Jackie Chan is the man. Like, his choreography is fucking phenomenal. Like, he just, even in this movie, like, where it's a more comedic style movie, and it's kind of funny, like, to see Carter try to hang with them. And that's always been one of my favorite things about it. Even in, like, the sequels, you have, like, fucking Jackie Chan doing all, like, these professional moves, and fucking Carter has to try to hang with that. So they take out the bad guys, but while this is happening, Han and the FBI were arranging to get Han's daughter back, but obviously they fucked it up, so Lee ends up having to they were going to send him back to China while Carter basically is off the case. So Carter calls the bomb girl who throughout the film he banters with, and I really like those little moments. Just, there's not a thing in this movie I don't like, honestly. I like everything. I think even the bad guy was pretty good. So Carter poses as like some plane investigators to get on the plane with Lee. He basically convinces Lee, because Lee mentions his dad, and this is where it's kind of revealed why Carter, because Carter, even in the beginning of the movie, is like, I don't want a fucking partner, I don't need one, and that's why, because his dad was killed in a traffic stop, and his partner didn't help him, which, it's like, moments like that where you do get more serious moments, but then they immediately to go back to the humor, so Lee's convinced, so they go to the Los Angeles Convention Center for the Chinese art exhibition. You have Han and it turns out Griffin is actually the bad guy. I'll just spoil it. This was revealed in the scene with Carter, where Carter wanted to meet with Juntao. When I actually thought it was a interesting, because throughout the film, Griffin is playing like he's Han's friend, and then he's like, "No, I'm the bad guy." So, but Carter, to distract everybody, has everyone run out and say there's like a bomb. Then we get basically the final act where Griffin reveals himself, threatens to blow up his daughter, but while this is you get the big bad guy speech. Carter saves his daughter, grabs Soo Young, then he brings her in and kind of uses her like, okay, if you're gonna blow it up, you're gonna blow us all up. So Griffin leaves and we get a shootout with like the FBI. Carter confronts Sang, who they were gonna have a fight, because throughout the film he's like, drop that gun, fight me like a man. So they both do, but Sang had a secondary weapon and he tried to use it, and Carter kills him. And then you get this funny line, "Wipe yourself off, you're dead." It's fucking great. Then Lee is basically chasing Griffin, and then he finally gets him, but he ends up falling while the girl disarms the bomb. Because Griffin's trying to run off with a bag of money. But Lee stops him, but unfortunately, because Lee has like the bomb on his chest, and he grabs Lee and then falls over. Griffin basically dies falling on the thing while like all the money's flying out, and you get Carter just putting it in his pocket. Carter manages to save Lee. The day is saved, basically. Then we get the funny little interaction at the airport with Lee, Carter, and the FBI, because they say, "Oh, you could become an FBI agent," and he's like, "Fuck your, basically fuck you. I'm not joining you." And then the fucking one guy's like, "Bitch." Fucking hilarious. Then he meets up with Lee. They're going to China. Then fucking Lee starts singing War. It was a funny way to end the movie. This movie's just funny. I fucking love it. It's one of those classic comedies. One of the best buddy cop movies. And it's one of those, definitely on paper, you wouldn't think, because Jackie Chan's obviously more serious compared to Chris Tucker. And I think, though, those dynamics can always work, though. I mean, Men in Black's the same way, where you have, like, obviously Jay's more humor of the film compared to, like, Kay. So it's the same thing here. And I always love the way these movies end with, like, the fucking bloopers. I always love that. All of them do that. It's a fucking great way to end the film. But this is just such a simple movie. Chris Tucker's fucking funny. Jackie Chan is badass. The bad guy, Griffin and Sang, were pretty simple. They weren't over the top. Because, like, I mentioned a lot of, like, when I review, like, action movies or movies like these the villains are not going to be overly complicated. They're not going to be like a villain you might see in a comic book film where they have a bit more, like, backstory. Where the bad guys in this, no, they just want money, or they're just fucking terrorists that just want to kill shit. It's simple. Just all-around simple film, and Rush Hour is one of the best comedies, and I definitely recommend it. 10 out of 10 comedy. I actually would recommend all of them, honestly. So, definitely a 10 out of 10 film. Just, yeah. I think it has a really good soundtrack, too, and it's just, like, I think that's one thing about comedies back then. They were just simple. They also didn't, like, beat a joke over and over again, like a lot of comedies now, where they'll just beat a same joke over and over again. Whereas, like, movies like these, or, like, older films, like, that are comedies, they do know how to, like, let's do something else that's funny, not just repeat the same joke. Like, you can do the same joke over and over. I mean, to an extent, there is a way to do a same joke over and over again and it still be funny. But just I think it's just because a lot of these people are just not, obviously, intelligent enough to do that. So they just beat you with the same joke that wasn't even funny in the first place. So yeah, this is definitely a great film. Definitely recommend it. Later tonight, I will be doing a Bands I Love on the Band Tool. So that. Look out for that. If I don't do it tonight, I'll do it tomorrow. But I'll do it tonight. Fuck it. It'll probably be like super late though. But other than that, cheers to this movie. One of the best comedies ever made. And I in a way, I'm actually happy they stopped at 3 because who knows, they could have overdid it and try to spam them all out and make it get old. So I think they knew how to. But yeah. But as usual, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck Joy Reid, fuck LeBron James, fuck Kevin Smith, and fuck Joe Biden. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.